Hi, welcome to Yoga Selection. My name is Rod. Our focus today, standing poses. We'll be using the support of a yoga chair. Make sure that you've, in addition to your yoga chair, got 2 blocks and a blanket. Let's get started straight away using the chair and bring the chair towards the far end of the mat. Have the back of the chair facing into the mat. Ardha Virabhadrasana. Big toes together, knees apart, and then reaching up and holding the top of the frame just with the fingers. So the thumbs not gripping, just the fingers themselves. Push the chair out and make as straight a line as possible from the hands back to the hips. I want that sense of straightness coming from traction. So make sure that your hips stay down. And then just to further improve that line, firm grip with the hands and descend firmly the pubic bone at the front of the pelvis and the inner groin creases. So the groin crease, that natural crease in the body where the legs and the torso join. We've got the inner crease there, closer into the pubic bone. So the pubic bone and inner groin crease descend. And feel how that helps to lengthen the front of the spine, and we want to maintain that and keep that. But now the back of the spine, and it comes from the outer thigh creases descending and the back of the pelvis descending. You'll feel as you do that, firmer contact with the lower shins, firmer contact with the backs of the thighs down onto the heels. And maintaining that firmness with the pelvis descending down, pressing down. Let's bring the left hand a little further across towards the center of the chair, and then bring the right hand off the chair down to the floor. It'll be somewhere near the right knee, to the side of the knee, maybe a little forwards or back. The right thigh crease now, deepen it back into the body and descend the left hip socket down. As we add just a subtle turning action, twisting action, the right hand will help. So firm grip with the left hand, but the right hand to the floor assists as we turn the pubic bone across to the right. As we do that, the left back ribs spread away from the spine. Make sure that the left elbow remains straight. As a consequence of the rib cage and spine turning, your head will also turn, and your eyes are now looking towards the right side. Don't overdo the action there with the neck. It comes more from the spine, and particularly that region of the spine down more near the pelvis. Pubic bone turns to the right. Find it on the left side. We'll switch hands. Right hand up onto the top of the chair, in the center of the chair. Left hand to the floor there, adjacent to the left knee. First of all, the left thigh crease, deepen it back into the body. Then the right hip socket, anchor it down towards the floor. The left hand then, press it down to turn the pubic bone across to the left. The right back ribs spread away from the spine. You feel that turning action coming right to the shoulders. The left shoulder starts to lift upwards, but without dropping the right elbow. Keep the right elbow straight. Okay, and then release and come up. We'll retain the chair. Let's fold the chair up. You'll need to assess your yoga chair to see which direction it feels more stable in this folded position. For me, for this particular chair, it's with the seat of the chair facing away from the body. For others, it might be that the seat of the chair facing into the legs makes the chair hold together more firmly when it's in its folded position. And then we're going to, for some people there may be necessity here to put a blanket over the top of the chair, just to give a little more cushioning as we wedge the chair up into the region there where the pubic bone is. And then we'll bend forwards and bring the hands down onto the frame of the chair. And then we're going to just slide the chair in a little closer so that it more firmly presses up into the pubic bone. We'll then make sure that the body can lean onto the chair. And ideally we've come to the point where both of those aspects cancel out. So the body's leaning into the chair as much as the chair is pressing back into the body. And it brings a sense of balance to the pose, and a sense of balance when your hips are directly over your ankles. And it's going to allow us, a little bit like when we hang off yoga ropes, it's going to allow us shortly, when we get into the full pose, to get a sense of traction in the lower back. But before we work with gravity, let's work against it. Press your hands down into the frame of the chair. Lift your head, look across the room. And this action helps you to lengthen the front of the spine. Feel it from the pubic bone, through the navel region, through the sternum region, right the way to the chin. Lifting the head also helps to contain the spine, keeping it down and into the body. In particular, that area that will often round and bulge outwards, that area adjacent to the shoulder blades. For some people it's a little closer to the mid-back or the neck. And then we want to retain that as we just incrementally come into the more passive version of the pose. Just bend the elbows a little as you bring your chest down closer to the chair, but just pause and check that you've retained the length at the front of the spine, the containment at the back of the spine, and then come a little deeper into the pose, and again pause. Front of the spine long, back of the spine contained, and then eventually we can let the arms more thoroughly release, and we get that sense of the body hanging off the chair and the aspect of traction then coming more to the lower back. So it'll be, at this point in time, a relatively passive version of the pose in terms of muscular effort. The chair propping the body up and just allowing the spine to hang off the chair and release. Make sure that the front of the spine is retaining its length. Make sure that the back of the spine keeps its containment, moving into the body. Alright, and then release, and we'll come up. Let's go then from a version of Uttanasana to a chair version of Ardha Chandrasana. So we'll bring the chair back out towards the end of the mat. We've turned it now, and make sure that the chair's in its stable yoga chair position, and the front of the chair facing back to the wall behind. We'll then place the hands down flat onto the seat of the chair and step the feet back in the direction of a downward facing dog pose, but make sure that your legs are vertical with the ankles directly underneath the hips. So a moment just to find the shape of the pose. The line from the hands back to the hips, similar to the very first pose that we worked with, we want that line to be as straight as possible and as long as possible. To get that, pressing your hands down, straighten your elbows. Straighten the elbows, press your hands down, and as if pushing the chair that little bit outwards and away from the legs. And then with the legs, grip the kneecaps. So with the knees straight, press the tops of the thighs back. And all of those actions that improve the pose, they hinge around that initial action of pressing the hands down, the hands press down, and as if pushing the chair away whilst the thighs lift up and press back, whilst the heels descend down and into the floor, making that line from the hands to the hips as long as possible and as straight as possible. Okay, and then partially bend the knees. Step forwards. We'll keep the chair in that position, but just rotate the chair now so that the back of the chair is facing you. Let's then bring hands onto the top of the chair. The palms are flat, so not as we were earlier doing, gripping the chair, palms flat. The knuckles of the fingers just over the top of the chair. And then we'll step the feet back, make a similar shape to the one that we've just done. You've got your feet hip width apart, so somewhere between an Uttanasana and an Ardha Chandrasana, downward facing dog pose position. And we'll be bringing this basic action into some of the standing poses that we'll be working with next. So press the hands down, anchor the hands, and lift the thighs up and back as we did in the previous pose. The tops of the thighs lifting up and pressing back. Then anchor that action by pressing your heels down into the floor, and then see if the chair can just push that little bit further out towards the center of the room. Keep the thighs stable, anchored as the chest moves forwards, as the hands push the chair just that little bit further out towards the center of the room. Notice how we're lengthening the front of the spine. In balance with that though, the back of the spine, it keeps its length and it is contained, brought down into the body. And then step forwards. We'll keep the chair more or less where it is. We'll now work with our left heel to the wall, a version of the pose Trikonasana. Good if the chair can eventually just be incrementally pushed out into its exact position. So for that reason, we'll start with it a little bit closer than where we think we will eventually need the chair to be. We'll start then with the left heel to the wall. The left foot is slightly turned in. The right foot, we step it out, legs length distance between the feet. We'll keep, for this particular version of Trikonasana, the left hand onto the hip. Right hand, as we just had it there, the palm flat. It's pressing down, the knuckles of the fingers just over the top of the chair, and then pushing the chair out. As the chair moves out towards the center of the room, the right thigh crease, it deepens, cuts back into the body away from the chair, and that combination of movements, it lengthens the right side of the spine, the underside of the spine, and it straightens the left side of the spine. Right side of the spine long, left side of the spine, it moves down and into the body. Now we just want to make sure, particularly for the more flexible ones, that we're not overdoing that action. So don't confuse the left side of the spine straightening with actually the spine starting to sag in a downward direction towards the floor. And the good corrective measure there is what the left heel does. The left heel presses down and it just ensures that the spine remains straight. The left heel pressing down, it helps that left thigh to press back. The left thigh presses back and the right hip moves into the body. The right hand pressing firmly down onto the top of the chair, and it moves the right shoulder blade in. As the right shoulder blade moves in, the top shoulder turns back, and we're looking up towards the ceiling without dropping the right elbow. Keep the right elbow straight. And then to come out of the pose, turn the head to look down, partially bend the right knee, and we'll step forwards towards the chair. Place the left foot where the right foot has been. We'll just bring the chair in a little closer again so that we can incrementally push it out. And then bring the right heel back to the wall. Right hand to the hip, Trikonasana to the left side. Hand onto the top of the chair. Push the chair out. As the chair moves out, the left thigh crease, it cuts back into the body. The left side of the spine lengthens. The right side of the spine straightens. Particularly for those of you with more flexibility, make sure that you're not too much dipping the left side ribs downwards. And again, the good balancing action there is the right heel pressing firmly down. And just ensures that the spine remains straight as it lengthens. Right thigh press back, left hip move in. Pressing the left hand down, move the left shoulder blade deeper into the body. But bring the right shoulder back as the chest turns and you're looking up towards the ceiling without bending, without dropping the left elbow. And then look to the floor, partially bend the left knee and step forwards. We'll bring the chair in again, just that little bit closer. This time we'll have both of the hands onto the top of the chair. We'll start with the left heel to the wall. We're going to be going to Parsvottanasana, eventually Parivrtta Trikonasana. The back foot is more turned in now. Deeply turned in. Step the right foot out. And both hands up onto the top of the chair, knuckles just over the top of the chair. and then push the chair out. As the chair pushes away from you, you start to straighten and lengthen the lines from the hands back to the hips. Choose the right hip first so that the chair moves away as the right thigh crease cuts back and into the body. Chair moves out, the left inner groin as well turns back towards the wall behind. Chair pushes out, the left shin, it presses back towards the wall behind. Pressing the hands down, turn the pubic bone around to the right so that it stays in the center of the body. Move the left side ribs into the body. Notice how it lengthens the right side of the spine. The right side of the spine, it lengthens in both directions, forwards and backwards. So anchor the hands and move the right thigh crease back. And then anchor the right thigh crease and push the hands out. The chair will come that little bit further away. We'll go straight to Parsvottanasana Trikonasana. We bring the left hand across into the center of the chair, right hand onto your hip. Now to get the origin of the turning action, left inner groin turn back, left buttock away from right buttock. Pubic bone, it turns towards the right, and as it does so you can just push the chair that little bit further out. The left back waist starts to turn and the chair can push that little bit further out. The left back ribs start to turn downwards away from the spine and the chair pushes that little bit further out. Last of all, the shoulder rotation, right shoulder lifts up and the chair can push that little bit further out as we come to Parsvottanasana Trikonasana, but without dropping the left elbow. To come out of the pose, look down, partially bend the right knee and step forwards. Place the right foot where the left foot has just been. Bring the chair back onto the mat. Right heel to the wall, right foot deeply turned in. Now if the foot is not deeply turned in, you have difficulty getting that right outer hip to turn forwards and around, and the twist won't come if that is the case. We'll start Parsvottanasana, hands onto the top of the chair and pushing the chair out. The chair and the left thigh crease move in opposite directions. The chair and the right inner groin move in opposite directions. The chair and the right shin move in opposite directions. And then we'll work towards the Parsvottanasana Trikonasana position, sliding the right hand towards the center of the chair and then the left hand down onto the hip. The right inner groin, it turns back, the right buttock away from the left buttock, the pubic bone comes across to the left. It just starts that process of twisting the torso, and as soon as we do that we feel added space in which we can press the chair further out towards the center of the room. And we're just growing the twist from the pelvis and working our way up the spine, up the rib cage. So the right waist starts to lengthen and turn and the chair pushes that little bit further out. The right back ribs, they turn away from the spine and the chair pushes that little bit further out. And that twisting action, it finds its way into the shoulders. The left shoulder lifts and the chair can push that little bit further out, but without dropping the right elbow. And then looking back to the floor, partially bend the left knee and step forwards to come out of the pose. Let's go to Virabhadrasana II. Chair on the mat, we've brought it back a little bit further closer to the wall. Make sure that at this section of the mat here, you're able to easily fit your foot. We also just need to allow enough room back towards the wall for our leg, which is going to come through the frame of the chair. As the back leg in Virabhadrasana II, the knee will need to be straight. So to get there, we need to start at this section of the mat, the far end of the mat, And carefully step the left leg back through the frame of the chair. And then we're going to sit down with the right leg and back of the thigh into the seat of the chair. Just need to make sure that we've allowed enough room there for the left leg. Make sure that the alignment of the heel, the right heel, is in the center of the mat, and the arch of the left foot into the center of the mat. And you'll be working it out fairly quickly that yes, this is a supported version of the pose. It's helping the thigh bone to release down, but it's actually more demanding in terms of the hip mobility that we can often struggle with when in the more unassisted version of the pose. So the thing that comes more naturally, the right thigh bone, the root of the thigh bone near the hip can sink down, and we're releasing that down and into the seat of the chair. Notice though that the knee tends to twist across towards the big toe side. So press the right outer heel down and help to turn that knee. Even with the right arm we can assist there. Just give that knee a bit of a firm adjustment to bring it back over the ankle. And then the right outer heel, it presses down, and we can move the right hip into the body, and the right outer thigh, it lengthens away from the knee back towards the wall. And then the left hip, and probably the more striking aspect of the pose, the demand on that left hip to move in. So pressing the left outer heel down, move the hip in. Left heel press down, left outer hip move in, until your left shoulder can start to come back more directly over the hip. Make sure that the chest is lifting up as the shoulder comes back. Keeping the shoulders there, then extend the arms out to the sides and turn the head to look over the right arm. Extend the left arm back to the wall. Left outer heel press down, and that key action, moving the left outer hip into the body. All right, and then bring hands back to hips, and then we'll go directly to a version of Parsvottanasana now. So left hand comes up onto the top of the chair. The hand can grip the chair. The right hand, reach it down to the floor beside the right inner heel. Now, of course, you've got a block. You can use a block if you need to bring the hand to the floor. But the support of the chair here initially is going to help us to close the gap between the right waist and the right thigh. So you've got the hand beside the inner foot. The hand is to the floor, using a block if you need, and it's helping you to descend that right waist. Ideally, you can make a contact with the right waist all the way to the leg. And then with that top hand, just pressing against the chair so that you can move the right waist further over the thigh towards the knee. We looked at a similar action in Trikonasana, lengthening the right side of the spine, straightening the left side of the spine. And then we bring that length to the turning action, and the top hand, we can just walk it a little further back on the chair towards the right side of the chair, gripping firmly, and then a bit like a steering wheel action, as if turning the top of the chair back across towards the front of the body. As we do that, the shoulders turn, the chest turns, and we're looking up towards the ceiling above. All right, and then release, and we'll come up and we'll bring the leg all the way out of the chair, and then we step the right leg back and through the frame of the chair. The left back of the thigh down onto the seat of the chair, and just taking note initially of the muscular support. That's the assistance there with the chair, but then the demand on the hip mobility that we then need to work to rebalance. starting with the left knee. Left outer heel pressed down so that you can straighten the left knee, turning it more directly out to the side. So that you can draw the left outer thigh back from the knee towards the buttock. And then the back leg, right outer heel pressed down, right outer hip move in. Lift your chest up, sternum bone lifting, but then bring the right shoulder back and towards the wall so that the right shoulder is sitting directly over the hip. And then we'll extend the arms out. Virabhadrasana II, looking over the left hand, but keep pressing firmly the right heel down. Reach into the right fingertips and cut the right outer hip into the body. And then we'll go to Parsvottanasana. Right hand comes onto the top of the chair, left hand to the inside of the left leg, and we can use the left arm against the knee just to lean back on the knee in order to keep it more directly over the ankle. The left hand coming to the floor helps the left waist to descend. Ideally it makes contact with the left thigh. Left waist, rest it down onto the left thigh. And then with that hand to the top of the chair, we can press against the chair in order to lift and lengthen more the left waist further over the left thigh in the direction of the knee. And then the turning action, we can walk the right hand a little further back on the chair and then gripping the chair and as if pulling the top of the chair towards the front of the body, towards the right side of the mat, in order to turn the shoulders and the chest and the head to look up towards the ceiling. In order for there to be freedom for the neck to look up, that right shoulder needs to move back and out of the way. And then we'll release and come up, and let's keep the chair now for Ardha Chandrasana. Now, first thing we need to establish, just so that you can see, I'll have the chair to the right side of the mat. Eventually it will need to come to the left side of the mat, but we'll use a block today as well. So even if you normally work with your hand to the floor, let's today use as a minimum height a block on its side edge. By all means use more height than that if you need to, but for today don't work with the hand to the floor. Just to get things set up, we'll have our left heel to the wall. We'll step our right foot out, legs length distance, and then we just ascertain where the block will need to be. So when we come to Ardha Chandrasana, the hand or the block, it sits so roughly a foot, 30 centimeters or so in front of the front foot and slightly across towards the little toe side. So we've established where the block needs to go. Important, make sure that you've established that. Place your block down. Once you've done that, then we'll bring the chair into position and the chair will come to the left side of the mat. So it's the left side of your mat when your back is to the wall facing in towards the center of the room. The chair is on the left with the back of the chair facing into the center of the mat. We've got the chair centrally aligned with the block. All the chair's going to be doing is giving us an aid with balance. So rather than taking the top arm up today in the pose, we'll be keeping our hand onto the top of the chair, palm will be down, the elbow will eventually be pointing up. All right, so we'll get there via Trikonasana. So step the right foot back out and come down. Trikonasana, you can begin there with the left hand onto the hip, partially bend the right leg, hop in with the left foot, place your right hand onto the block, place your left hand onto the top of the chair, and then come to Ardha Chandrasana. Looking to the screen if you're not sure. So the chair here it's really just an aid for the balance, but still we do need to balance. And just with the balance in mind, just notice that left leg. The pose can tolerate a degree of that top leg either dropping or lifting without affecting detrimentally the balance, but it's not as tolerant of the leg leaning back or forwards. So it's that action that we really need to stabilise. Gripping the left knee certainly helps with that, but in addition to that, if we lift the leg higher, feel how it engages the left buttock, and that also helps to stabilise that leg. It's less inclined then to oscillate in a forward and backward direction. So knee firm, we've engaged the buttock, we extend out through the four corners of the left foot, and then we aim to keep that top leg active but still. Then the other issue that affects our balance when we're free balancing is the movement of the head. And again, the pose, it's not so tolerant of the head going in a forward or backward direction. So we just need to keep the head in its basic central position and turn it. Before we turn it though, that left shoulder needs to lift up and out of the way so that there's space for the neck. And then just slowly, carefully turning the head without it moving back, without it moving forwards, and looking up towards the ceiling above. All right, and then we'll release down. And we won't go back to Trikonasana, just coming out of the pose from there. Try not to disturb your setup. We'll just bring the block across towards the left side of the mat. And then the chair, we turn it the other way so that the chair, the back of the chair is facing in towards the centre of the mat. The chair will help you balance better if it's a little bit away from you. So don't have the chair too close into where your hand is. For me, I've got the foot right in the centre of the mat, the block slightly to the little toe side of that. The chair though, the feet of the chair, just only on the yoga mat there, just on the edge of the yoga mat. Let's do the left side, right heel to the wall, left foot step out, legs length distance between the feet, and Trikonasana. Top hand to the hip, bend the left knee, hop in, place the left hand onto the block, right hand onto the top of the chair, and then we'll come up to Ardha Chandrasana. Just for the moment looking down with the eyes beside the block, and feel it, that tendency for the leg to be unstable to the forwards and back direction. So lifting it up, lowering it down, not as terminal to the stability, but forwards and back really does throw the balance out. And then lifting the leg higher engages the right buttock, helps to stabilize the leg, grip the kneecap, extend out through the four corners of the feet, and hold that right leg still. Without disturbing the right leg, lift the right shoulder up. And then without changing the basic head position, just slowly turn the head to look up, but keeping the right leg still as you look up. And then we'll lower the leg down and block off to the side. Let's then bring the chair, we'll go to the twisted version of that pose. Ardha Chandrasana. We'll have the chair on the mat, towards the end of the mat, with the back of the chair aligned with the right side of the mat. So it's the right side of your mat when you're facing out towards the centre of the room. Let's begin right back to the wall as I am. We'll bring the left heel to the wall. The foot can be deeply turned in. And then we'll step the right foot out. Now don't let the chair prevent you from getting your full legs length distance there. So important that you establish that first of all. So the right foot, you've stepped it out a legs length distance away from the wall. Then once you've established where the foot is, then we can position the chair. We're just going to slide the chair in so that the feet of the chair align with the first bit of the heel pad there. So the arch of the foot meets the heel pad, and we're interested there in that section where the arch and the heel pad meet. We've brought our feet of the chair in to align with that section of the foot. Then we can leave the chair in that position, slide our foot back closer to the wall, and now the tips of our toes are in line with the feet of the chair. And then we're ready to go. We can place our left forearm down onto the seat of the chair, the right hand, as we had it earlier, palm down flat, elbow lifting up, and then we raise the left leg up and place the ankle to the wall. We might need just some minor fine tuning there to ensure that the right ankle sits directly underneath the right hip and the left ankle is hip height. I'll give you a moment just to find that pose. Make sure that the right hip is firm and stable, and then work with the left leg, pressing the foot into the wall, straighten the knee, and that lifts the left inner groin. Left inner groin lift, left buttock away from right buttock, turn the pubic bone across to the right, and as you do that, press down with the right hand into the top of the chair. Use the forearm on the seat of the chair to lengthen the left waist as we turn. So left inner groin turn, pubic bone across to the right, left waist lengthen, left back ribs turn downwards away from the spine. Make sure that the left knee remains straight as we find our way to the shoulders, the right shoulder lifting, left back ribs turning, and we turn the head to look up towards the ceiling. Keep pressing firmly back with the foot into the wall and keep the left knee straight. And then we'll release, and we can bring the left foot to that section of the mat where the right foot has been, and we'll then turn the chair around, making sure that we've kept the chair the same distance there away from the wall. We've got the chair central on the mat. The back of the chair aligns with the left side of the mat. And then right forearm down onto the seat of the chair, and the right foot comes to the wall at hip height. Left hand to the top of the chair. Press the right foot firmly into the wall. The right inner groin turned upwards, away from the floor. Right outer hip down, pubic bone across to the left. And then building on that with what the arms do. Both hands press, the forearm and the left hand press. We lengthen the left waist, turn the left back ribs, turn the shoulders, but without dropping the right knee. Right knee lift, right shin lift, right heel press into the wall as you turn and look up towards the ceiling. All right, and then release. And let's then adjust the chair position. We'll keep the chair in that section of the mat near the far end of the mat. We'll turn it around so that the back of the chair is facing back to the wall. As we did earlier, make sure that you've left enough room at this section of the mat for your foot to fit without the toes overhanging the end of the mat. Make sure that you've left enough room in this section of the mat for your back leg, which will come through the frame of the chair, to straighten without the wall getting in the way. We'll step then so starting at the far end of the mat, we'll step the left leg back through the frame of the chair. We'll lower ourselves down as we did earlier for the second warrior pose. This time we're going to start with the first of the warrior poses, Virabhadrasana I. We're going to go directly from this pose to Parsvottanasana. Make sure that the left foot has shuffled far enough back for you to be able to fully straighten the left knee. You've got your chest and your hips facing directly forward. We can bring the arms back around the outside of the frame of the chair so that the hands can come onto the hips. And notice the connection, the left knee straightening and the left leg lengthening with the heel back and down towards the floor tends to push that left lumbar, tends to push the lumbar spine generally in a forward direction. So ideally it's not the lumbar spine that pushes forwards, it's more the back of the left hip that pushes forwards. To get it, resist the right heel down. Right heel press down, whilst pressing the right heel down, straighten the left knee and move the left buttock in, the back of the left hip in, and the lumbar spine, rather than being pushed forwards, lifts up and the chest starts to lift and open. The shoulders can then roll back. And then from there we'll go to Parsvottanasana. We'll bring the left shoulder down and past the right knee, and the right hand can come up onto the top of the chair. You're gripping the top of the chair with the right hand. Now, similar action to the previous pose. The left knee straightens, the left inner groin turns up, the left buttock moves away from the right buttock, the pubic bone turns across to the right, and we build on that with what the left arm does. It presses against the right knee and it helps us to turn more and lengthen more that left waist. The right hand, we can press it against the frame of the chair, and we can still more lengthen the left waist and start to turn the left back ribs in a downward direction. And with the right hand, as we did earlier, we slide it further back on the top of the chair, and then gripping the chair firmly, as if like a steering wheel action, turning the top of the chair back across towards the right side of the mat. And then the shoulders turn, the left waist turns, we turn the head to look up. Make sure that the left knee remains straight. And then release. And we'll change, bringing the right leg back through the frame of the chair. Lower yourself down. Make sure that the seat of the chair is coming right up into the back of the left knee. For shorter stature people, if your left heel is unable to reach the floor, you may need to put a support under it. Folded yoga mats would be an ideal support, something with some grip. If you're putting support under the front foot, you won't need to also put it under the back foot. It's just the front foot. And then hands come around the frame of the chair onto the hips. Right knee straight, but without pushing the lower back forwards. So left heel pressed down while straightening the right knee so that the right buttock moves in, the back of the right hip moves in, rather than the lumbar spine pushing forwards, it lifts upwards. It improves the chest opening, shoulders back as the chest lifts. Then the twist, bring the right shoulder past the left knee, left hand up onto the top of the chair. We've got the right elbow bent, the palm facing out from the body. Right knee straight, right inner groin lift upwards. Right buttock away from left buttock, turn the pubic bone towards the left, and then deepen that twisting action by pressing the right arm against the left leg. With the top hand, press against the frame of the chair, and we can lengthen the right waist as we turn the right back ribs down, and then bringing that rotation all the way to the shoulders, top hand, walk it further back onto the chair, and then as if pulling the chair back towards the left side as we turn the shoulders, turn the right chest, look up towards the ceiling, keep the right knee straight, reach back into the right heel, draw the right heel further back and further down. And then we'll release and bring the right leg out from the frame. We'll sit. Maybe just give ourselves a little bit more room. We'll push the chair slightly back and Chandrasana. So feet a little bit wider than the hips of the chair, than the feet of the chair, and then bringing the hands down to the floor, either staying at that point or reaching through the front legs of the chair to hold the crossbar between the back legs of the chair. And then from there lifting the head and looking across the room. Alright, and then we'll release and come up. Let's finish with Shavasana. We'll use the chair, having your calves resting up onto the seat of the chair, and a half fold blanket for your head. So a moment just to set up. Make sure that as your calves rest onto the top of the chair, the seat of the chair is coming right up into the back of your knee. And this, whilst you're adjusting the pose, make sure that the calf region feels evenly balanced as it descends down into the seat of the chair. Ideally, there's not a firmer, harder contact with the seat of the chair up in that region near the back of the knee. So the shin bones should be able to release directly down. We don't want that sense of them tilting with the ankle section of the shin bone lifting higher than the knee section. If that is the case, it may be beneficial just to put a half fold blanket under the back of the pelvis. And then from there we can just allow the calf muscle to relax down into the seat of the chair, and the shin bones relaxing down into the calf muscles. See if you can discern the separation there, the calf muscle releasing, close to that, very related to that, but also separate to that, the shin bone descending down and into the calf muscle. And that little set, that pair of instructions, we can follow that pattern right the way up the body. We'll just choose some of the main ones. The sensation there, the back of the pelvis releasing down to the floor. Related to that, but also separate to that, the abdominal region releasing and relaxing down. And then working our way all the way up to where the skull is. Feel the weight of the skull as experienced there by the skin at the back of the skull, the scalp area there at the back of the skull. Feeling the weight there, release, and the corresponding release that comes to the eyes. Eyes sinking back into the eye sockets. So there's other areas in the body that share that similar pattern. We've checked in with 3 zones: the shins, the calves, the back of the pelvis, the abdomen, the skull and the eyes. So a lot of similarity there. There's one big difference, of course, the abdominal back of the pelvis sensation. It shifts according to the inhalation or the exhalation, so that breathing out, pelvis and abdomen descend down. Breathing in, pelvis remains descending down, abdomen lifts up. Of course, the other two, though, undisturbed by what the breath is doing, whether breathing in or breathing out. Calves descending, shins descending. Breathing out, and importantly, breathing in, back of the skull and the eyes descending. A few more moments once they're quiet in Shavasana. All right, and then take a couple of slightly deeper in-breaths. And then bring your knees in towards your chest. Eyes open. And roll to the side. Come up as you're ready. Thank you for practicing with Yoga Selection.